Book Buzz, HarperCollins Book Buzz. Check it out. Book Buzz, HarperCollins Book Buzz. Brought to you by Library Love Fest.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
We are joined by a very special guest today, Michael Fynan from the academic department. He's senior associate. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Lainey. It is so good to be here with you. You know I love my library friends and all of my librarians.
Yeah, and you're going to probably see Michael at ALA, everybody. So hopefully come and say hi, right?
Yes, I'm so excited. Cannot wait.
Awesome. So just a little back end stuff. We're very excited to have Michael here. Facebook is giving me some issues. So if you are on Crowdcast, hello, welcome. On Facebook, just give me one more second. And then we will start. I don't know what's happening, but we're going to share the link there so everyone can watch it via Crowdcast, and then we can upload it later to Facebook if that's the what's happening. So if you're on Crowdcast, shout out a hi, say hello. Very happy to have you here. And I'm going to share on Facebook this link. So we are today. Join us. Okay, and then, let your friends know. And if it happens in the background, I'll try to get the video up and going. Okay, so welcome. Very glad to have you all here. And I just wanted to start off. Well, we're not going to bury the lead. We're going to tell you what our pick is. So we had a few hints that we put out on social media. And if you guessed, congrats. I know Beth Thomas sent me an email and definitely guessed correctly. But if you didn't, you have a little bit of time, and where I will should I just read the hints and give them some time to
Yeah, I think so. Well, time for one last guess.
In real time. Okay, let's do it. So the first hint that was sent over the weekend was, our author grew up in North-South Wales, Australia, where the book is set, and she lived through several events that are central to the story. That's your first hint. Second hint, our May Galley Club selection deals with some heavy topics, such as the aftershocks of a war-torn nation and generational trauma, but it balances pulsating suspense with astonishing empathy. This story is deeply powerful.
Intriguing.
Yeah. Hint number 3, this is our author's debut novel, but she is an accomplished poet and short story writer. Her fiction and poetry won the 2020 Langston Hughes Award and the Pinch Literary Award. Okay, those are your hints.
Wonder what it could be.
So get them in, and then we're going to tell you. Drum roll, please. Thank you, Michael.
Can you hear my drum roll?
All That's Left Unsaid by Tracy Lynn. We're very excited. So Galley Club, if you're just joining us, is something we've started. It's a book club for librarians. We've added that line on there after actually feedback from TLA, which we'll talk about in a minute. I think librarians want to know that this book club is for them. And so this is so exciting. We're going to pick a book, dive deep every month. And this is our May selection, All That's Left Unsaid. Can't talk about how much I love this book any more than I have already, but I'm going to try. So I enjoyed this book so much. It's predominantly told through the eyes of, sometimes switching perspectives of side characters of Key, of a first-generation Vietnamese immigrant in her mid-20s. She now lives in Melbourne. She's originally from a small suburban town in Australia. And her little brother, she's kind of moved away and not really had a lot of stuff to do with her family because she just doesn't feel understood in some ways. And now her little brother has been there's been mysterious circumstances around his death. So she takes it upon herself to kind of travel back home and look into what's happened. And she decides that the people either are too scared to talk to the police, or the police don't really care. And you see her go through these heartbreaking scenes where she's waiting to talk to someone and find some answers. And, there are people in her community are there and they don't understand what someone's saying, or a lot of the first generation immigrants are taking a lot of the burden of translation. And so this community has been really hurt in several ways. It's also, a vibrant and dangerous town. So she sees it through the lens of someone who's gone and come back home. And she finds that by distancing herself from her home, she has really cut off all of this contact and understanding of her parents, who maybe don't understand her in some ways either. And I really enjoyed this conversation around those first generation kids and what feels like suffocating to them, and what the society that may not ever accept them demands of them. And it goes in between a few other characters. There's this teacher, this white teacher, who thinks she's doing a lot of good and sometimes doing not so good. And I think that there's a lot to discuss in this book, and it's so beautiful. And Tracy grew up in Sydney, but she's done a lot of research on the immigrant experience, and it really shines through in this book. So I'll stop talking about it, but I'm very excited. I love this book so much, and I am super excited that next week on the 10th, we're going to have some people from her team to talk about the book and the foray into publishing. And then we're going to have Tracy herself on May 24th. So we're going to get to talk to her. So read the book. Like, we have plenty of time. We gave you also an extra week to read the book. So she's coming on the 24th, and have your questions ready. We are going to have a lot of fun with this.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
I so love that cover of that.
I know.
It's like there's something so tangible about it. I love it.
I know. So just a quick recap on TLA. So we just got back from the Texas Library Association. We had 7 authors signing. This is the second in-person event. I love seeing reactions to books, especially if they are local authors. And we had this one book, The Burning Season, which may be on Facebook Live for one of our filler events soon. So keep an eye out. But Allison Wisdom wrote that book, and she was there signing. And all I had to say was, set in Texas, and it's got a cult. And they were like, sign me up. And I just love seeing in-person reactions to like telling people about a book. So I don't know, she was just so winning, and all of our authors did such a great job. We had Lorraine Heath and Taylor Moore, and then Matteo Aschiapour. Both of them were on the Lariat list. We just had a really great trip, I think, and it's our second in-person conference, Michael. It was kind of weird to be in person, but it went really well. Yeah,
we haven't been, because we also do academic conferences, and we haven't been back yet, but I think ALA will be my first conference in person back, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
We're excited. And then ALA will be the next in person. And then we'll go over Day of Dialogue, which is this Thursday. Maybe we'll do our book presentation first, Michael, so I can try to kind of maybe like 1 or 2 books first, so I can try to get this Facebook thing going.
Okay.
But I just want to quickly tell you guys that we have a note from Carol Fitzgerald, president of the Book Report Network. She said that your favorite reading group guides.com event is back. The 11th annual book group speed dating event. Say that 5 times fast. Book group speed dating event is this Friday, May 13th. And we have 14 publishers that are participating, including somebody from William Morrow. So we're represented there. And I'm going to put a link in the chat, but if you would like to go, there's going to be a presentation from the publishers. The PowerPoint and the Excel sheet with all the books are going to be available to you, as well as publishers on hand just to ask questions and answer them. So, and select galleys will be available in e-galley and physical form. And it's about, the room is going to open about an hour before, so you can get access to all of those details, and you can download all of your PowerPoints. And then the presentation will also be available for a year after. So if you can't make it, that's fine. Sign up and get the replay. And we're very excited, and we love Carol. So we're glad that she sent that to us so we could let you know. All our librarians are welcome. Cool. Okay, so
sounds exciting.
Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna here's the link for our friends watching.
I feel like I'm like your fluffer here. I'm like, yay, Lainey, you go.
I know it's a lot of back end stuff because we just haven't been here for a week or two. So I'm sorry, Michael, but without
No, it's
further
fine.
ado, I want to hear about some books that Michael brought for us to tell us about. And the first one I have up, which we will talk about in a little bit, is Kevin Wilson.
Oh, yeah. All right. Hold on. So yeah, so I'm sure many of you know Kevin Wilson. He is, you know, such a great writer, such a huge, librarians are a huge fan of him. I came to Kevin Wilson through his book, Nothing to See Here, which if you didn't read that, it's this really endearing story about a young woman who essentially becomes a nanny to this pair of children who spontaneously combust when they get stressed or upset. And so in this new book, Now Is Not the Time to Panic, there are these two teenagers who in the mid-90s, they create this anonymous poster with the message, "The Edge is a shanty town filled with gold seekers. We are fugitives and the law is skinny with hunger for us." And so then these posters spread throughout the town with dangerous consequences. And this thing that started as something that initially brought these two teenagers together now threatens to tear them apart. Fast forward 20 years, and one of them is now, she's grown up, she's leading a very successful and happy life. She's sort of left her past behind when she gets a call from a journalist who is writing about that time period when there was a lot of panic in the town and wants to know if she maybe knows anything about this period of time. So then the question becomes, is this completely going to upend her life? Which, I don't know, I won't tell you because, as Lainey loves to say, the joy is in the read. But one of the things I really love about Kevin and his writing, which I'm sure if you've read him, you can attest to this, he has such a gift for taking these absurd, extreme concept situations, and he really just finds the genuine humanity in them. So these stories they're always wild and unexpected. I never really know where it's going, but they also resonate, perhaps even more so because of how absurd and extreme they are. So that one comes out in November 2022. So I would highly recommend it. And I think that is the only fiction I'm talking about today. So I apologize. I do work in academic.
I love that. That's great. Oh, I'm really
Yeah.
excited for Kevin.
I mean, we
I'm
all
going
love
to throw
Kevin.
it to you for the next one, if you don't mind.
Yes. Okay. So this is one I'm actually reading currently. I was just reading on the subway on my commute here this morning. So Steve Brusati, a few years ago, he wrote this book, The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, which I loved it. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It takes you through the history of the dinosaurs from how they came to be all the way up until that comet that basically wipes them all out. And so this book essentially picks up where that one left off, aka with the Rise of Mammals. Although he does go back a little bit to the time period when the mammals did coexist with dinosaurs, talks about their origin there. And then, you know, once the dinosaurs are extinct, he talks about how the mammals sort of rise up and become the dominant family of animals on Earth, which of course includes us today. So, you know, he does talk about humans and modern mammals, but he also talks about, you know, saber-toothed tigers, woolly mammoths, armadillos that were the size of a car, bears that were 3 times the weight of a grizzly bear. So it's like really cool and fascinating. National Geographic actually calls him one of the stars of modern paleontology, which I would think sounds very boring because, like, looking for rocks, boring. But he, actually, I got to talk to him for a podcast a few years ago, and he just has this childlike passion for what he does. He's like a little kid who's like looking for fossils, and that enthusiasm he has just really comes through on the page. And if you ever hear him in an interview, if you look up our podcast, Harper Academic Calling, shameless plug, you can really hear how passionate he is about his work. So it's really fun if you're into natural history, archaeology, paleontology, or if you're even just someone who's interested in learning about our place in the world, you know, the vast history of our planet and our, you know, our small little part in it. It really gives you a sense of scope, I think. So yeah, The Rise and Reign of the Mammals, and that one comes out next month, actually, June. So keep an eye out.
Nice. I am also unshamelessly plugging, and I'm putting a link to your podcast in here for everybody.
Oh my God,
'Cause
thank
it
you
is
so
really great.
much.
Yeah, it's really great, and a lot of conversations with authors. So please check it out. And you already probably subscribed to Library Love Fest one, so you might as well just go ahead
Of
and hit
course.
academic while you're there. Yeah.
I think your podcast is one of maybe like 3 SoundCloud accounts that we follow.
Well, I mean, not to brag, but
Right.
well, I have to say, guys, I'm sorry. There's some tech difficulties on the Facebook side. So I shared a link. If anyone's questioning, come find us on Crowdcast, and the video will be on Facebook shortly after. I apologize, but we're going to keep rolling.
Rolling on
So,
through.
yeah. So let's see. What am I going to talk about? How about The Kiss Curse by Aaron Sterling? I'm very excited for this one. The first one was the X Hex, and it was such a delight. It's what I needed. I just needed a fun read, and I couldn't put it down. Aaron Sterling is the pseudonym for Rachel Hawkins, so you probably know her from the mystery side, thriller side. But this is her other name she writes under. And this is the second in the series, like I said. So the X was first, and then this is the follow-up. It's got a fan favorite, Gwen, who is the cousin of the person in the first book. You probably don't have to read them together, but you definitely, it makes it for a more context when you read it. So Gwen is really happy with her life. She lives in Graves Glen. Her mom and her cousin, who met in the first book, own this shop called Something Wicked, and she's started mentoring some younger witches in town. This town is kind of on this hotbed of witchery, which you find out more about in the first book. And Halloween's coming, and another Penhallow from the family that was the romantic interest in the first book is back in town. He's there to reestablish his family's connection to the town even more than they did in the first one. And he really wants to kind of make a new life for himself after being a really dutiful son to this empire that is in Europe, and they have these ties to this small town. And so they have this kind of, they like to fight. There's this enemies to lovers trope, which we love. And they have a lot of competition, and it gets kind of personal, but the romance is dialed up too, because there's a lot of tension, and we love that in a book. And I don't know, it's just something so delightful in these books. There's also a lot of magic and a lot of magical objects around them, so you just feel like you want to kind of curl up in this book. So if you haven't read the first one, please do, and this eGalley is available. Yeah.
I love a good rom-com. I feel like I don't read nearly as many as I'd like to, but yeah. I might have to add this to my fall list.
You should. It's perfect for like the Halloween spooky season, but I read the first one in like summertime, like around now, and it was just like exactly what I needed for the hot weather coming in. I don't know, something about it, but yeah. All right, let's see whatever comes up next. This is like roulette. Okay. I just quickly wanted to tell you about Galatia. This is from the internationally best-selling author of The Song of Achilles and Circe. It's this short story that reimagines the myth of Galatia and Pygmalion, and it's a small hardcover edition that features a new afterword from Madeline Miller. It was previously, circulated, but it's just a kind of a gifty package. And so we love anything Madeline Miller, and if you want, if people are just itching for more, then you definitely want to have this on your radar. It's a small package, but it really packs a punch. So I just wanted to quickly tell you about that one. And then, Michael, you're up.
Okay, all right. Well, this is quite a shift from the lovely, fun Madeline Miller to a book that is a little more serious. So Gary Rivlin is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist who wrote this. And so I'm sure we all saw during the pandemic, especially during lockdown, small businesses really suffered and took a hit during those times. And so what Gary does in this book is he follows an ensemble of small businesses who during that time were really struggling to stay afloat. And so what he does, besides telling their stories, he examines not only everything about the pandemic specifically that has brought these businesses to their breaking point, but he also goes back a little bit before the pandemic and looks at the trends, the government policies, things like that, that were already presenting these challenges for small businesses in the years leading up to the pandemic. And unfortunately, we saw in so many ways how the pandemic really exacerbated a lot of current issues and inequalities in our country, rather than creating new issues. And so this, like, shows that that's exactly what has happened with small businesses as well. So it's a little more serious a read, but it is a very worthwhile read. Some really good reporting there. So I would highly recommend that, especially if you have any sort of investment in small businesses, which we do. We love our indie bookstores.
Nice.
Oh, and that comes out in October.
Yeah, indie bookstore was last Saturday.
Oh yeah, that just happened, right?
Yeah, I went into I'm back in Mississippi, and so I went into Square Books, and I just happened to wander in on Independent Bookstore Day, and it was really fabulous. So
I love that.
That made my heart happy. Yes. Thank you. Okay. Off with her head. Okay. Which I love this title, and I'm like slightly gone down this rabbit hole of, Six is in New York right now, which is all about the Henry VIII's wives. And I'm just down this rabbit hole of women who were just cast aside for all of these kings, etc. And so this book really appealed to me because I think that that's making a little bit of a resurgence. I mean, shouldn't ever go away because we need to know about the terrible things that happened to them. But this is really topical. And so Eleanor Herman is the author of Sex with Kings and Sex with Presidents. That was a really interesting book that came out last year. And this is returning with another pop history, exploring the history of misogyny against women through the world and throughout time. Eleanor is a New York Times bestselling, like I said, of Sex with Presidents, and there's also Sex with the Queen. That book is in there, and there are several other books. And she has hosted Lost Worlds for the History Channel, The Madness of Henry VIII for the National Geographic Channel, as well as a second season of America Fact versus Fiction for the American Heroes Channel. So imagine like a History Channel show that just draws you in, and that's that wrapped into this book. It's going to be something you really want to dive into. So this book explores this rage that is reserved for women. Somehow there are conversations around women, especially in politics, or, what they should be doing with their bodies. We all know what's going on right now. And so there's this rage against women and what they can be told to do, especially, if they're vying for power. A lot, like some of the examples were all the things said about Hillary Clinton. Like they wouldn't have said those things about a man if he was running, especially when it has to do with family and obligations. And this is going to explore these power dynamics from the ancient world through the European Renaissance to like the recent US elections, like I just said. It's been really this uppity women and being put in their place, and we're gonna just deconstruct everything and talk about it. And there's a signature wit and humor from Eleanor in this book. Some of the people that she goes through and talks about, like Cleopatra, Anne Boleyn, Marie Antoinette, Catherine the Great, and then Kamala Harris, and many more. And each chapter will analyze the tried and true misogynistic method to keep women down. And Herman ends the book by looking forward. So what can we do? And to kind of change these conversations. Critics have said of her previous books, enlightening social history that is great fun to read. And I think that is so true. Like you can see it with this image on the cover. You will just keep turning those pages, but it also, you're learning something in the process, and hopefully something to change the world. So yeah, that's Eleanor Herman and Off with Her Head.
I'm excited for that one.
Me too.
Another one I'm excited for, How to Write Like a Writer. So in academic, we are huge fans of Tom Foster. if you have any high school students in your life, or if you were recently in high school yourself, you may be familiar with How to Read Literature Like a Professor, which is a huge bestseller in high school classrooms. That's why we love Tom. And so in that book, he basically brings students through how to read literature like a professor, like how to approach a text, how to analyze it, things like that. And he's a former professor himself, so he's a really good explainer in that way. But he's not, high academic. Like, he brings things down to a level where it's not patronizing, but you can follow along. It makes sense. He's with you on this journey. And so this one is basically exactly what it says. It's how to write like a writer. But it's not a creative writing guide. I mean, there are so many of those out there. So much as it's a primer on how to do the whole, writing thing, like the technical aspects of it, whether it's a business report, a memoir, a school paper, whatever you're trying to write. So he goes through things like, how to say exactly what you want to say, organizing your thoughts, finding your voice, really making sure you're making your point, drafts, revisions, when a work is actually done, et cetera, et cetera. So if you are someone who has to write for any reason at all, or if you have a young student in your life who also is writing, I would highly recommend this book. He's very entertaining too. He really it's not a boring read, I promise. And this one comes out in September, which is perfect for back to school.
Nice, yeah. I like the color of that cover. It really pops.
Right? Yeah, especially with like the white of the keyboard and the mouse and the notebook. Yeah, it pops.
Nice. All right. Oh my God.
So, as you may be able to see behind me, I am in the office right now. And I've really enjoyed coming back into the office. But one of the things that's really been great about coming in the office is that, so many things happen in a day. You can just be at your work. You can be at your desk working. Lane, I'm going to steal the screen share from you. And, you can just be going about your day. And then suddenly Viola Davis is here and she just, wants to meet everybody and get a photo with everybody. Just those things casually happen. So there's my little humble brag.
Not jealous at all. Not jealous at all. The one day I'm not in the office.
And it's a day you normally would have been in too.
Yeah, Michael, thanks.
Yeah. Sorry, just wanted to, rub that in there a little bit. But no, she was so delightful in person. Like, she made eye contact with me and I had a full body shudder. Like, I now understand what the word awestruck means, because I was literally struck with awe. Okay, Lane, I'm going to give you the screen back. But so obviously you probably know Viola Davis from many different things. The Help, Fences. I fell in love with her through How to Get Away with Murder. So I knew her as an actor, obviously. But through this memoir, I have a much better appreciation for her as a person. So she takes you through her life, from her coming of age in Rhode Island all the way up to now. And it's really one of the things I really loved about this book is that it's so vulnerable and personal, and she doesn't hold anything back. And besides the fact that she's telling you about her life, you can tell that she's having this journey of self-discovery herself as she's writing this, as she's going through this, and she really takes you with her on that. So it's it's very intimate, it's very vulnerable. You feel like you're in there with her. I love her. Can't say enough good things about her. And it's an Oprah book club pick. So if you don't believe me, believe Oprah.
I mean, I totally believe you, but I feel like Oprah's kind of backing you.
Right. Yeah. I told Oprah actually to pick this for her book club personally.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, we're tight. But yeah, and this one is available now. So
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Also, you have to see the back of that image because her baby picture's on there and it's the cutest thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay. I'm missing there's no cover, that's why. Okay, I just want to quickly tell you, because I don't have a cover to share, but I'm gonna put the Edelweiss link in the chat so you guys will have these titles that we're talking about today. I just couldn't share it until now because I didn't want you to know what our club pick was. I didn't want to give it away. But I'm putting this in there now, catalog, and you'll have all the books. Okay, so my last one I want to talk about is Financial Feminist by Tori Dunlap. This one I'm super excited for. I wasn't aware of Tori's work. She has for her first 100K is a podcast, and she has Financial Feminist, this great website. Go check it out. But I wasn't aware of her. She was on TikTok and Instagram doing all of these things about wealth and wealth management. And when we bought this book, it came up at launch, and I was totally intrigued because she not only helps people with, with getting money and figuring out where to invest or what things to do, giving really great financial tips, but she does this thing called financial feminism, and she she earned like 100K on the side of her 9-to-5 marketing job, and she turned it into like a multi 7-figure business. And that's what that website was that I was talking about. She helps you take control of your career and your finances. She is like famously against like all of the Dave Ramsey stuff, because she says that it just like kind of doesn't help people who are like the wealth gap is too big, or like that kind of that's like kind of a privileged way to look at it. And so she breaks those things down and looks at all of the holistic financial education in a way that like are not told to women and girls growing up. They are kind of told to like, oh, just don't worry about it, your husband will figure it out. That's not what you need, and you have to really work for it, and it's on you. And so she uses all of these principles and applies them in a really realistic way. I've taken her advice and learned so much. I just didn't know anything about it. It wasn't the top of my list. And I think if you have anyone coming into the library who just doesn't know where to begin, or was told those things like, oh, someone else will figure that out for you. You can invest, or you can't set up your financial security. Like, this is a book to hand them so that they can understand at a like principle level what they need. And I've heard her speak at things, and I just find her to be so personable and so relatable in a way that doesn't make you feel overwhelmed. Like, she's like, there are reasonable steps. Like, you can figure this out on your own if you want to work on your 401k or whatever. She's like, don't worry, don't be scared, we can do it together. And I think that that's really really helpful. And she's super young and have been so successful really early in her life. And also the book is going to focus a lot on systemic issues about wealth inequality and equity. So I think it's just a pretty good thing all around. Even if you do know some of those things, maybe you can find ways to kind of communicate that with people younger than you or people in your family. I'm very excited about this book. Like I said, there's no cover or galley yet, but you don't have too long. It comes out, it's a fall book, so December 27th. I'm hoping we'll have a cover pretty soon. Very excited about this one. Yeah.
You sound so cool.
I know. I also kind of love that she like takes down like, okay, he tells you, like, I think no offense to Dave Ramsey, but I think one of his like things are you shouldn't be at a restaurant eating if you have debt unless you're working in it, and it's like, that's not reasonable. Like, people need to go out to eat,
Right. You can treat yourself.
I think she just kind of breaks that down into being a like, that's great in theory, but what's the reasonable thing to do, which I enjoy.
I feel like it's the whole like millennials can't afford homes because because they're getting avocado toast at brunch, like that whole mentality.
Right. Where it's like, I don't think one brunch is going to really make or break when the housing market is in fall. Like, I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, those were all of my books. Did we go through all of your books?
We did. Yeah.
Okay, great. So you guys have the Edelweiss catalogs. You have all of the books there. And then one thing we want to go over before we leave is Day of Dialogue. So Day of Dialogue is sponsored by Library Journal, and it is a free event. You can sign up. Putting the link in there for you guys if you haven't already. I'm sure you've already seen it. But it's a free event, and we're going to have a lot of authors on panels. It's a full day event on Thursday, this Thursday, May 5th. We'll be in our virtual booth chatting, so please stop by. I'm going to show our booth. I am going to tell you that there's a little bit of a hint for maybe what our ALA ad theme is. So I'm just going to leave it there. We had a lot of fun taking this picture. See if you can spot it. But this is our booth that you'll see when you go into Day of Dialogue on Thursday. And I just want to, all of the resources will be there. You can sign up for our ALA annual breakfast. It's coming back. We're so excited. This is our first time back in 2 years. And yay, thank you. I'm so excited. That's where we get together at ALA annual and have a breakfast and present books. This one is in person, but fill out this form on a Day of Dialogue. We'll have a form. Fill it out and let us know if you would like a virtual option. We're working on it. We'll see. So if you're not going in person to ALA, that's not always a deal breaker. So just an FYI. So authors, very excited. We have Julie Murphy and Sierra Simone. I already see someone, let's see, talking about Simone in the chat. Yeah, so Sierra Simone and Julie Murphy have co-written an adult rom-com. It is adult, even though Julie Murphy is really well known for, dumpling, pudding, and pumpkin. So she does write YA, but this is an adult book. So, as I say, some discretion is advised before you give it to a young adult reader. So that's up to you. And this is a steamy plus size holiday rom-com about an adult film star. That's where the adult part comes in. She's semi-accidentally cast as a lead in this like wholesome kind of Hallmark movie channel-ish in this Christmas movie. And so there's also like her crush from when she was younger, this pop star who's trying to redo his life. He's going to be her co-star lead, and it's super fun. So be sure to check the romance panel out. It's 10:15 on Thursday, all in Eastern. And then we have The Women Could Fly. This is the second novel from Megan Giddings. It is a dystopian novel, hence the dystopian view on there, about the unbreakable bond between a young woman and her mysterious mother who's gotten missing a while back. And it's set in a world with witches. Sign me up. And then also on the dystopian panel is Veronica Roth for Poster Girl. She's back. She's got another dystopian regime she's taking down, and it's got a lot of dark secrets and a girl whose family and community that she's uncovering secrets of them along the way. And then we have The Hero of This Book by Elizabeth McCracken. Elizabeth and Kevin Wilson will be on the fiction family panel. I'm not going to talk about Kevin Wilson because Michael did such a great job talking about it, but just a little bit about The Hero of This Book. It's a novel, but it is based a little on the relationship Elizabeth had with her mother. So it is a novel, but there is some of the relationship and some of those feelings are very real to her, and she could kind of use that while writing. It's about a writer's relationship with her larger than life mother and the nature of writing and memory, and how do you capture a really dynamic relationship. So I'm very excited to hear her talk more about that. Those are our panels. We'll be there chatting all day, so come to the booth. But we have a booth chat, and that means you'll come to our booth at 2:30 and click that little black sign that says booth chat. And Kevin Wilson is going to come right after his panel, and we're going to answer some questions. So please bring your questions about now is not the time to panic. I also think Elizabeth McCracken might be able to join us. So come right after their panel, and you'll hear them speak, and then I'm sure you'll have lots of questions for them. So we'll be there for 30 minutes just chatting, me and Virginia and Kevin and Elizabeth, like old pals. So be sure to stop by and see us. All right, I think that all of my spiel is done. I think that that's all we had to talk about.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of exciting things. I'm jealous. I mean, I love my academic work, but I'm like, oh, I want to stay and do library stuff now. This all sounds so fun.
Come on down.
Well, I will be there for ALA. So,
Yeah, well, you're welcome. You're an honorary Library Love Fest member, Michael.
oh, it is an honor to be here.
I'm gonna check the chat if anybody has any questions for us. Everybody's excited about Day of Dialogue. I think I don't see any. Let me see. There are a couple of questions. Let's see. The book club book. Oh, book club book. Let me show it one more time. So, our May selection is All That's Left Unsaid by Tracy Lynn. And we are super excited to have Tracy on May 24th. So we gave you an extra week to read. We say there are spoilers, so read the book because we're going to go talk about it and we don't want anything to be spoiled for you. So read the book and then come on next week, May 10th. We're going to talk to the team behind the book, her editor, and someone from audio, because there's some special audio stuff in this book, which I won't give away. And then the fourth week of this month, the 24th, the author will be on, and we were going to talk to her and ask some questions. So download an eGalley now, and I'll put that in the chat for you as well.